Let's go ahead and do a roll call.
Sure.
Forrest Reynolds is not here, right?
No, sir. He was not sure if he could log on. He had a prior commitment.
Yeah. So Zeke's on. I see Zeke. Alonso, is Alonso on? Mr. Cantu? Juan Carlos, I see Juan Carlos there.
Present.
Frank, are you back on?
I'm on.
Okay. Joaquin? Okay, let's go ahead and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice. Relocation, one.
Heavenly Father, we place our work and ourselves into your hands. Anoint our creativity, our ideas, and our energy so that even the smallest tasks may bring you honor. Bless us with wisdom, discernment, and commitment. May all we do be done in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go ahead and call the workshop.
Yes, sir.
Love.
Yes, sir. Chairman, directors, we have Ricky Longoria with Burton McCumber to present the fiscal year 2021 financial statement and independent audit for Hidalgo County.
Thank you, Pilar. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Ricky Longoria. I'm an audit partner with the firm of Burton McCumber Longoria. And we are the firm that was engaged by the board to audit the RMA. We're here today to present the financial results, the audited financial results for the year ended December 31st, 2021. With me here today, I do have Luis Lopez. He's an audit manager, CPA with the firm. Mr. Lopez was actually the one involved in the detail, the details of the audit per se. Sometimes I tell Mr. Lopez he may be involved, but it ends up being my signature on a page, and so I'm here as well. We are going to break up this quick presentation into two parts. There's a governance letter that I'm going to speak to very briefly, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Mr. Lopez. All in all, this will not be a very long presentation on our part. You can almost consider that a good thing because things went very well, went very smooth. But certainly, we're open to any questions that you all may have. Again, I'm assuming you all have both the audit report and the governance letter, which is the governance letter is about 2-3 page letter that's stapled. My intent, of course, is not to read the entire letter to you all today, but just kind of highlight the important items within the letter so you're aware of what's in it. First of all, it just confirms that we did audit the financial statements of the RMA for the year ended December 31st, 2021, that we did apply what's called government auditing standards in performing our audit, which is a higher level of standards than just generally accepted auditing standards. Just acknowledging that at the end of the day, management is responsible for the selection and use of accounting principles included within the audit report. Again, it is management's responsibility. Auditors, we audit, and our purpose is to opine on the financial statements, but certainly as auditors, we do not approve or involve in any of the underlying transactions that are included within the financial statements. Confirming that there were no new accounting policies that were adopted during this past year. However, I'll just give you just a heads up as you move into next year. There is a new accounting standard as it relates to leases. It does apply to the RMA. We have spoken to management with regard to this new accounting standard. However, I will also say that the only lease that we're aware of is a lease that you'll have on the building. And once we ran the numbers with management, we determined that the application of this new principle, although it would be ideal if you applied it, but it's immaterial to the financial statements, and we would not take exception to it at this point if you all applied it, because just the resulting numbers are just immaterial. We noted that there are no transactions entered into by the RMA for which there's lack of authoritative guidance or consensus. And to our knowledge, all significant transactions based on the results of our test have been recognized in the financial statements in the proper period. The next paragraph talks about accounting estimates. Every financial statement includes some estimates embedded within the amounts presented. Some folks say that accounting is an exact science because the debits always equal the credits. Those things have to balance. But nonetheless, things like depreciation, like in you all's case, certainly the majority of y'all's asset base is centered in construction in progress. So that depreciation has not necessarily been applied just yet, but to the extent that you do have depreciation, that is an estimate subject to experience and application. And the other estimate that we also discuss here is just allowance for any uncollectible receivables. We wanted to confirm to y'all that we had no difficulties dealing with management in conducting the audit. I will say we've always enjoyed our relationship with your team and ensuring that the audit goes very smoothly. Also confirming that in that process that we did have no disagreements with management, which is always a good thing. I will say during an audit process, sometimes there may be differences in opinion, but that doesn't necessarily rise to a disagreement. Again, confirming that we had no disagreements with management. Confirming that management did take responsibility for the financial statements as documented in the management representation letter that was addressed to our firm. And we really didn't have any other findings or matters that we needed to discuss at this time. I almost feel like I read the entire letter, but that was not my intent, but rather to highlight the items within the letter. And so if nobody has any questions on this part, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.
Good evening. I will ask if you have the report in front of you. Well, if you want to follow along, you can. If you just want to listen, that's fine as well. The 5th page on the report, which has our firm's letterhead on it. This is the independent auditors report. This is basically the audit opinion. The audit opinion, I will like to point out that it will look a little bit different than what you're accustomed to seeing due to the issuance of a new auditing standard. The new auditing standard added additional language in the paragraphs of management's responsibilities for the financial statements, as well as in the auditor's responsibility section. It also brought to the very top of the page the opinion on the financial statements. You may remember in previous years, the opinion was on the 2nd page, and I think with the intent being that the main focus should be on the opinion on the financial statements. Now that opinion is brought forward to the very top of the 1st page of the report. As it relates to the audit opinion, again, we did audit the financial statements of the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority for the year December 31st, 2021, and the related notes to the financial statements. The audit opinion this year is consistent with what you received in the previous years, which is an unmodified opinion, clean opinion. And so that the 2nd paragraph would be the opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the authority as of December 31st, 2021, and the respective changes in financial position and cash flows in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. I will make note, I won't turn to the back of the report. There is a second audit report letter in the back as it relates to government auditing standards. This letter typically highlights any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal controls and or compliance that we would have come across during the audit. In this case, we didn't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or instances of non-compliance noted. And so that letter basically just says that. The next thing I want to go over is on page 14. This is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. Basically, in the normal business, your income statement which outlines how the entity did as a whole for the year. As it relates to operating revenues and expenses, your operating income, you had 6.6 million in operating income. In comparison to the prior year, you had 6.1, so pretty much fairly consistent with the operating income as it was in the prior year. As it relates to non-operating revenues and expenditures, the bulk of the expenditures are interest on the SIB loan, the bonds, and the amortization of your bond premiums and deferred charges on the refunding. At the end of the day, overall, you did have an increase in net position of approximately 2 million, just over 2 million. In comparison to the prior year, last year, that increase in net position was 2.3 million. So as a whole, pretty similar operations in comparison to the prior year. You do continue to see increases in vehicle registration fees every year. Overweight permits, you did see an increase of about 100,000, but that has been fairly steady as well. We turn to the previous page, page 13. This is the statement of net position, basically the balance sheet, if you will. One item I would like to point out here is a reclassification, something that you may see a little bit different than you have in previous years. One discussion we had during the audit was as it relates to the logic, the funds maintained in the logic government investment pool. And so the discussion we had was whether that should be classified as investments or cash. In our discussion, because there are no stated maturities on those investments, because those investments are liquid in the sense that they can be moved at any time without any penalties or any restrictions. In essence, they're basically cash and cash equivalents. And so what you would have seen a portion of those funds being included in investments, now they're a part of cash and cash equivalents. And I think that better presents from a liquidity standpoint where the organization is. Towards the bottom of the page, in the net position section, you did have a total net position of 55 million. Again, that's an increase of 2 million as compared to the prior year. I would like to point out that you will see a negative unrestricted net position here. And this is primarily attributable to the calculations into what goes into the net investment in capital assets bucket and the restricted. Anything that doesn't fall in those buckets ends up being in the unrestricted. I will say, in this case, in government, sometimes it's not uncommon to see a negative amount here. And in this case, it's mainly attributable to the deferred charges on refunding, which will be amortized over the next 2 years. And so that balance should flip over back into the positive here soon in the next year or two. The amount net investment invested in capital assets, you have about 4.5 million. You do have restricted funds on the debt service, 6.3. Primarily included in that amount, there's some transfers that were required by bond covenants on the SIB loan to transfer over $1 million every year into a pot to set aside for debt service. So that's mainly what's included in that bucket. The amount restricted for capital projects is the unspent bond proceeds that remain unspent on the 2020 bond. That's pretty much all I have that I wanted to go over. If anyone has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them at this time.
No question. Any questions from anybody?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you all for the time and allowing us to be of service to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. That item one.
Yes, sir. Chairman, the next item on the workshop is item number 2, review of fiscal year 2021 annual compliance report for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. In your packet, you have a 1-page summary under Texas Administrative Code Title 43, Part I, 26, Subchapter G. We're required to submit an annual report to the Texas Transportation Commission. The sections that we need to be in compliance with. Number 1 is Section 2661, written reports, Section 2662, annual audit, and Section 2663, other reports to counties and cities, and then 2664, operating records. As you can see, we're in compliance with all of the statements, or the rules, I should say. And so this is an action item on your regular agenda to certify that we're in compliance, and then you're going to authorize the executive director to submit this report to the Texas Department of Transportation. So, but this is an annual report that's required annually. It's required by the Texas Administrative Code. Any questions?
Are any questions on this? If not,
No.
okay with it. Thank you, Pilar.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we've got a quorum for the meeting, correct?
Yes, sir, you do. You have a quorum.
Any public comment?
We do not have any public comments, Chairman.
Okay, let's go with the reports, please.
Sure. Reports, item 1A is a report on program manager activity for the 365 Tollway project, IBTC environmental clearance document. Eric Davila will give you a brief report.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On to slide 5 under the section for the 365 tollway part of the report. As you could see on that overall schedule, we're at the point where a lot of the key activity prior to letting and commencement of construction has already come to fruition. So you'll hear a lot less out of me about 365 and more from Ramon as construction activities ramp up. But right now we're in this short period where we still have ball in court with review of value engineering change proposals, which include updates to the plan sheets. And so I'm still going to be very much involved with coordinating design reviews and the quality assurance on the acceptance from the owner side on these finalized products we see from police construction. And so we have a few items on the agenda today that cover, first of all, the reevaluation effort from our environmental team to take those environmental assessment reevaluations to TxDOT. We've devised a very streamlined process to try to get those done in waves, basically get the bulk of the VE concepts cleared by checklist, which is basically notification with some data. Should cover most of the items. And then there's a few, depending on the guidance that we're going to get from E&V, that may require some tech memos, at worst case, a tech report, but it's nothing that's on the critical path in terms of what the contractor needs right now to get rolling with implementing construction. So we've already met with the contractor, with the local Pharr district, and so we're at the cusp of meeting with E&V in Austin to unveil the strategy and see if they agree, and to hopefully get that buy-in. And with regard to quality assurance on the actual changes to construction plans, we've got an item with the RGEC this afternoon, which is to get them underway, scoped, and ready to accept the design packages as they come in, so that we get those reviews done and acceptance forwarded over to construction. Any questions on 365 Tollway? Like I mentioned, you'll hear a lot more about that as we get ramped up with the construction report, which we have following my presentation.
Do I need to push this button for everybody to hear me?
I can hear you okay, but I'm not sure about the in-house.
Okay.
None of the items, I guess, the change proposals were going to impact the critical path of the schedule. So I'm assuming there's several construction activities that commence that these items don't affect. Precisely. So in right now in the 90-day schedule, it's essentially a lot of underground work. It's staking the right of way, the controls, and getting drainage structures and irrigation structures on the way, and some levee relocation work. So we have plenty of space within the 12 miles to do that work. And the way the value engineering change proposals affect the design is isn't necessarily adding footprint to the project. It's bringing the maintenance closer to one another. So everything that's on the ground, by and large, doesn't get affected much. So there's a lot that they could do on major structures at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Going to the IBTC, we just had our public hearing last week on Thursday, the 17th, and we're actually in public comment period. So anybody who wants to know more about the project could go to this project report. At the bottom of the page is the project page link, which is hcrma.net/ibtc.html. And in it, it'll have the public hearing presentation, schematic, also the comment card, which can be mailed, emailed, and there's even a number for voicemail messages that can be left for verbal comment in English or Spanish. So we had a very good turnout. 55 people showed up, and we're hoping to get public comment, feedback, questions, concerns, and the like, so that we can have a good public record about the outreach that we did. And we look forward to finalizing that aspect of the process. Like I said, the public hearing summary report should be available, I want to say, by the end of April. That gives TxDOT about 30 days to approve it. And since our document by and large is already sufficient for processing, which is why we were able to have the public hearing, we're hoping that environmental clearance can still be obtained, midsummer, early fall at the latest. So we're still tracking toward that. If anything changes with regard to that, y'all will be the first to know. Any questions on IBTC?
Hello, Eric. This is Frank. Overall, what was the? Did you get any input from the attendees, positive or negative, either way?
I think it was overall, positive. A lot of the folks that showed up are individuals that had already been present to either the public meeting or one of our various town hall meetings. But with every project, the longer the projects take time to go through clearance, the more that other communities pop up. So there was a few other landowners that got notified in the process that they were going to be affected by the project. But the meeting also had the right-of-way acquisition representatives there from the appraisal team and from the acquisition team, the agent. And so they were able to get informed about the schedule, the process. And so we told them that this is going to be a kind of a glacial movement. It's not an overnight thing that we're going to come approach you. And, it's going to be a kind of a slow and steady process. We're going to be reaching out to you at every step of the way, and that these are your rights. There's a Senate bill that covers the landowners' bills of rights. And so all that information was handed to them so that they can be informed and, of course, welcomed to give any public comment or feedback through the process as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, hearing nothing else, thank you all.
Thank you, Eric.
Chairman, directors, the next item is item 1B, report on construction activity for the 365 Tollway project. And so Colorado will be giving you that report. Before he starts, just like to let you know that the clock for Pullis started on March the 15th. So last week the clock started ticking on their contract time, and so Ramon will give you a report on their activity.
Good evening, Chairman, directors. As Mr. Rodriguez informed you, we have started the clock on PCI, or Pullis Construction. Just for a friendly reminder, we issued notice to proceed to PCI on February 15th, and time charges had a 30-day delay, and they started on the 17th of March. So we're 6 days into construction, and total working days are calendar days, and that's 1,264 days. So looking at that in layman's terms, we should have a final product here September 22nd of 2025. All right, of 2025. And looking at the overall theme of things, we have various items of multitude of items, and this is going to be a giant project in every term of the means. And we are diligently working towards hiring. We've got one inspector on board, and looking forward to attending a couple of career days to get some more people on board. But until then, we shall continue to work with Pullis and work with the staff that we have. With that being said, we will move on to the executive summary. Once again, the contract was let with 1,264 working days. We have 7 mandatory holidays within the project, and that's 7 for a total of 7 days. That's New Year's Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and the day after, Christmas Eve, and the day after. Thereafter, every other day is charged, regardless of rain, weather, whatever the condition is. They will be charged a working day, and liquidated damages are at $16,500 a day. So if he fails to achieve that goal of September 22nd, 2025, we will persistently add $16,500 or deduct $16,500 a day. Total construction price submitted was for $295,932,420.25. We were given the directive to make the project. It came in 14% over. We were given the directive to make the project financeable. We immediately went into change order number 1, which was the VECP concepts or value engineering change proposals. We immediately knocked off approximately $38 million from the project, and that in itself was a 12.84% savings from the net after deducting final design costs and our owner fees. We divvied up the net savings of $35,521,555.75, which was therefore split 40-60, and that divvied up the difference in what we saved, which was the $14 million we deducted from the overall cost. And change order 2 captures the cost of the project at $281,723,797.95. I know this is a little confusing, but as we go along, these pieces will fall together. And the total construction cost, our construction price, is going to actually be the $257,922,037.62. And we are going to pay out as professional service fees the contractor's split of the savings, which is the $21 million in progress payments. So as they get to 60, 80, and 100%, we'll pay out portions of these payments to the contractor for progress. I know that's a little confusing. Is there any questions on that? Hearing none, we'll proceed. We are working on change order number 3, which is the VECP concepts and capturing the plan sheets that Mr. Davila mentioned. The contractor has submitted a 90-day schedule. This is not part of the critical path or the critical path schedule that is due within 90 days of conception, which would be the beginning in the month of June. So right now, what they've done is they've acknowledged that they're going to be prepping right of way on both ends of the project, which is from 23rd West to Ansalduas and from 281 Cage Boulevard east to U.S. Military Highway. Okay. In order to do that, there is some environmental justices that we need to comply with that are captured in the plan sheets. I'll come back to the quality control, but I wanted to make sure we got this diligence. There is a requirement for our environmental justices that we comply with the archaeological sites and with the Army Corps' permit of reconciliating the impacts to the environment. And we're doing that by a wetland mitigation site that we've acquired. This is off to the southwest end of the project. We purchased approximately, I believe it was 60 acres, and of those 60 acres, approximately 60 acres, we're going to build 23 acres of wetlands to mitigate for our undoings, our impacts to the environment. And we are diligently scoping this project, and we shall come before the board hopefully next month with a project for authorization and approval. This will be planting various plants and providing a water supply for the long term, and complying with our requirements. This will quickly allow us to impact the entire project now, as we are restricted with these parameters of wetlands and archaeological sites within the project that we cannot touch. Because once we impact those sites, we only have 30 days to implement this wetland mitigation plan, in the end capturing 60 days of fulfilling the project. So we got to time these appropriately and make sure that we are within the window of construction for both sites. So it is imperative that we comply, because the federal funding that we have received is at risk for the project. I'd like to remind the board that we do have all 4 of the local construction materials testing labs on board. Atlas Construction is our independent assurance lab. We have done the initial audits or initial inspections of the facilities. There were minor discrepancies that are being corrected, some with some equipment, others with certifications and calibrations of machinery. Those are quickly being responded to, and a lot of them have already been complied with. We are also diligently and actively every day working on utility relocations. As Mr. Davila informed you, the initial contract schedule is for underground work and prepping right-of-way. There is no immediate impacts by any of the relocation projects that we're doing for utilities, and we are hopefully will be able to capture and relocate the majority of these by June. And that's when they plan on doing drill shafts, et cetera, on some of these intersections. We should be clear of all impacts or any conflicts by June. Other than that, we are awaiting authorization to move into the field office. These will be located on South 10th Street. And we are working on a daily basis with reviews and certifications of the project plans. Any questions?
Very good. No,
Yes, sir.
I guess the split of the savings, right, that goes to the contractor,
Yes, sir.
is that guaranteed? I know it's tied to certain milestones of construction, but is it guaranteed whether they meet those milestones or not? Or is it tied to meeting those?
It's tied to the production and the milestones.
So if they don't meet the milestones,
They don't get paid until they do.
Okay, thank you.
So that's been divided up on a 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100% progress payment. So if they haven't made the production, they don't get the milestone until they meet it. So, and that's how we've divvied up the 21 million. So it's approximately $4 million per milestone that they will receive.
Mr. Chair, I just want to commend Pilar and all his staff. I know it's been a long haul, been a long wait. So just want to commend you, Pilar, and all the staff for taking this project on and getting going, and we're off with it. So good luck and God bless to all of us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Director.
You know, I think Pilar and staff have done an excellent job, and, you know, we've worked a long way to get here. So it's once you got the first one in our hat, I think it's going to be better for once it gets IBTC. So we'll have two projects going at the same time, God willing.
Yes, sir. Chairman, Directors, the next item is your consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the governing body and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, if discussion is desired, that item or items will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Chairman, we ask that you approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 2C, which is the February 2022 financials. The financials are not ready, and so we'll present them at the next board meeting.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 2C?
So moved.
A motion, Alonso, second by Zeke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's go to regular agenda. Item 3A, Resolution 2022-16, consideration and approval of the fiscal year 2021 financial statement independent auditor's report from the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority.
Chairman, Directors, you heard the report by the independent auditor. We received an unmodified opinion, so staff is recommending approval or acceptance of the auditor's report.
Can I get a motion?
This is Frank. So moved.
I have a motion. Can I get a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2022-17, consideration and approval of the fiscal year 2021 annual compliance report for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority.
Chairman, Directors, this is our annual report. We're in compliance. Staff recommends approval of the annual report and submission to the Texas Department of Transportation.
Can I get a motion?
So moved by Zeke.
Motion by Zeke. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. How about Resolution 2022-18, consideration and approval of the interlocal agreement between the Texas Department of Transportation and the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority for the overweight and oversized vehicle corridor.
Chairman, Directors, this is our interlocal agreement between the authority and the Texas Department of Transportation for the issuance of overweight and oversized permits on the state highway system. We've been issuing permits in 2014. The standard interlocal agreement that dictates the roles and responsibilities of each agency, and basically the authority issues the permit, the authority collects the fees and distributes the fees between the authority and the and TxDOT. It's the fees that are collected is $200 per one-way trip and it's primarily overweight. And the number one commodity that we're seeing is produce. For that, the fee is $200 one way, and the split is 85% TxDOT, 15% authority. Staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions? If not, can I get a motion for Resolution 2022-18?
So moved by Frank.
Motion by second by Zeke. All in favor, say aye.
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 Same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2022-19, consideration and approval of the investment advisory services between Hilltop Securities Management LLC and the Hidalgo County Regional Authority.
Chairman, Directors, as you recall, back in last month in February, we issued $151 million in senior lien toll vehicle registration fees and $63 million in junior lien toll and vehicle registration fees, which we refer to as Series 2022 A and B. So we've got quite a bit of cash sitting in the bank, so to speak, and we're needing some assistance with investing that so that we can maximize our return on those funds. These funds are all going to be used for construction of the 365 Tollway. So as we're drawing down, we want to try to realize some revenue from the funds as they're sitting there. And so we've asked Hilltop Securities to provide us with a proposal to provide those services. Hilltop Securities, and this is their investment arm. This is separate from the financial advisory services. This is a different section of Hilltop Securities. But basically, they provided us with a proposal to manage our investments for us in the amount of 0.25% of the average balance. And so the way this is structured is the fees are drawn down for construction and the balance reduces, the fee slides with the balance. And so this
Go ahead.
This agreement is for the life of the bonds, basically, until we've exhausted all the proceeds. And again, it's the fee is 1/25 of 1% or 0.25%. Staff is recommending approval.
The only question I have is, do we go out for bids and are they going to give us an interest rate? I mean, I know they're charging 0.25%, but what are we going to earn on that?
So that depends on the different investments. And so the board has authorized, I'm as authorized as the investment officer, as Joe Castillo, we're investment officers. And so they'll make a recommendation based on market, and then, we'll invest those. The one thing that we have to be careful with in our investments is we need liquidity, because we're going to have to be drawing down to make construction progress payments. And so that's why we're asking for them to help us monitor the market, invest those proceeds, and maximize our yields for the short period of time that we'll be investing them, because we'll be constantly drawing down on them. We estimate that our average drawdowns will be about $6 million a month for construction. Some months it'll be more, some months it'll be less, but on average it should be about $6.5 million a month. I'm not sure if that answered your question, Chairman. We haven't determined the investments, and that's what they're going to advise us, provide the advice on where to invest it, when to invest it, and maximize our returns.
I'm okay with it. I just would like to make sure that we stay short, because rates are rising. So we should be able to do pretty well on the investment side during a short period of time while the money's not being used.
Yes, sir. So that's one of the criteria that we've expressed to this firm, is that we need to stay short and flexible, so that if rates increase, we can reinvest the proceeds to maximize our returns.
Mr. Chair, do you feel comfortable with it being a lifetime of the project versus like on an annual basis?
I think a quarter probably is fine. It's real hard to move the money back and forth, but I just think we need to make sure that we're maximizing the return.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be with their bank, right? They're going to go out for bids, I guess.
Yes, sir. They'll go out for bids to get the maximum yield. And then of course we've got to maintain liquidity, and of course security is important also. We're not going to invest anything that's high risk. So we've got to take security, we've got to take liquidity, and then yield into consideration in all our investments. And what we'll be doing is we'll be providing the board with a monthly report. Currently we provide a quarterly investment report, but I think we're going to have to go to a monthly investment report because of the large amount of proceeds that are going to be invested, to keep the board abreast of how we're doing.
Can I get a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Yeah. And
motion by Alonso, second by Zeke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Resolution 2022 consideration and approval of work authorization number 9, supplemental number 1 with Wetland Associates for the conducting environmental assessment reevaluations for the undated design initiated under 365 Tollway engineer change control proposal.
And Chairman, just a clarification on the last item. The contract is not for the life of the bonds. It's for the life of the proceeds until we exhaust the proceeds, which we'll be exhausting all the proceeds in the next 4 months. So, Chairman, this item is for work authorization, supplemental 1 to work authorization number 9 with Blanton and Associates. And this is for a reevaluation of the environmental assessment under the value change proposal that Ramon alluded to earlier, number 2 and number 3, change order number 2 and number 3 to post this contract. So this is to go in there and make sure that anything that the contractor proposed didn't have a fatal flaw and would negatively impact our environmental clearance document. This fee is in the amount of $197,254.90. These fees are deducted from the gross savings from the project, and so they're budgeted for and accounted for. So staff is recommending approval.
If there are no questions, could I get a motion for approval?
Second.
Get a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-21, consideration and approval of the contract amendment number 9 to the professional authorization agreement to the supplemental. Number 9, so it's just the approval.
Chairman, Directors, this is just to increase the maximum payable amount with Blanton for the supplemental number 1, work authorization number 9. To work authorization number 9, you just approve in the same amount, $197,254.90. Staff recommends approval.
Can I get a motion?
So move.
Motion, you get a second?
Second. Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 All same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-22, consideration and approval of work authorization number 8 with HDR Engineering for the general engineering service for construction management of 365 Tollway.
Chairman, Directors, if you recall, HDR Engineering is our general engineering consultant on the project. So they're going to be providing us with construction management support for the life of the construction project. This is a budgeted item. We have accounted it in as part of the project budget. You have a work authorization is in the amount of $1,244,594.55. And again, this is to provide construction management support during the life of the project, which is for the next 42 months. Staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions? If not, can I entertain the motion for approval?
So moved by Frank.
Motion by Frank, can I get a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-23, consideration and approval of contract amendment professional service agreement with HDR Engineering to increase the maximum payable amount for work authorization number 8.
Again, Chairman, Directors, this is just to increase the maximum payable amount to HDR's contract in the same amount, $1,244,594.55. Staff recommends approval.
I get a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Alonso, second.
Second.
Second by Zeke, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Resolution 2022-24, discussion and consideration of an amendment by professional service agreement for engineering design contract with Science Oil and Gas LLC, modifying Article 2 amendment period to conform with the term provided for each approved work authorization, and amendment to authorization number 4 in Part 4 to provide a termination date of June 1st of 2022.
Chairman, Directors, Science Oil and Gas was originally contracted to do all our high pressure gas line relocations on the project's identification. And in some cases, they did the design work for us because the pipeline owner was unable to take care of the relocation. Their contract was fixing to expire, and also they have been bought out. But what we're asking the board to approve here is just extending their contract through June 1st, 2022, so we can wrap up the work that they currently have underway, which we have one major pipeline relocation underway, which is Lone Star Pipeline. It's an 8-inch high pressure gas line. The authority is actually bidding out the relocation, not the pipeline owner. So we're actually going to award the bid, and Signs provided the design for that, and then they're going to provide the construction oversight. So staff is recommending approval. There's no net change in the fee.
Okay. If there are no questions, can I get a motion for resolution 2022-24?
So moved.
Motion by Alonso, can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Zeke, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2025, discussion of Amendment A to the Third Amendment Interlocal Agreement, Administrative Agreement between the City of Pharr and Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority.
Chairman, Directors, the authority is in need of vehicles for our construction inspectors. rather than purchase vehicles, we found that it's more economical to lease vehicles or rent vehicles. The city of Pharr currently has a contract to lease vehicles with Enterprise Fleet. And so we'd like to take advantage of that and rent vehicles for our construction inspectors to basically drive out to the projects and do their work. We're asking for authorization to basically piggyback on the city of Pharr's contract. The lease amount is going to vary based on the class of vehicle that we lease. And that will basically be a half-ton pickup that we'll be leasing for 6 inspectors, and it'll be just for the life of the project, which is 42 months, and then we'll be turning the vehicles back in. Staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions?
And just renting a vehicle like this is going to be less expensive than purchasing it long term?
Yes, sir. Because we won't have after construction's done, we'll have to scale back our inspection staff. And once we do that, we'll have all these vehicles that we've purchased and no longer have a need for. So we did do the cost analysis on it, Director, purchasing and then depreciating it out. And so it's almost a break even between the two. But if we need to get rid of vehicles during the shorter period of time, which is 4 years, the lease will allow us to scale down the number of vehicles we need. And if we purchase them all up front, we can scale down the staff, but then we'll have these vehicles that we'll have in the fleet, have on the books that we may or may not utilize after that.
This lease are going to be month to month, 6 months, a year? What kind of time?
They're month to month. They're month to month. There's no termination fee. There's no mileage fee. There's nothing. We can terminate these leases at any time.
After a while, are you going to get new vehicles in 6 months or a year? You're not going to use the same vehicle, are you?
So the schedule that Enterprise provides for this class of vehicle, the pickups basically, is they replace them every 4 years. So you'll use them for 4 years, and then if you need them beyond the 4 years, they'll give you a new. They'll cycle them out and give you a new vehicle.
They'll be responsible for maintenance?
Yes. So the maintenance is built into this. All we do is provide fuel.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, I can entertain a motion for approval.
So move, Zeke.
Motion by Zeke. Can I get a second?
Second, Frank.
Second by Frank. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries. 2022-26, consideration and approval of the award of contract with Strike LLC for relocation of an 8-foot gas line on the 365 toll project.
Chairman, Directors, this is the gas line that I referred to earlier, owned by Lone Star Pipeline. Lone Star was having some financial issues. We brought this to the board probably about a year ago and received authorization to go ahead and design it ourselves and bid it ourselves. Because the project is 100% compensable from the authority as a utility relocate. Lone Star had their own. They had their own easement. The pipeline was still existing, so we were responsible anyway for 100% of the cost to relocate it. So we hired Simon Oil and Gas to design it. We put together a bid package. We went out for bids, and we received 3 bids, and they ranged from $398,922 all the way up to $1,517,958.21. So the engineer of record has reviewed the bids and is recommending that we award it to Strike LLC, the low bidder, in the amount of $398,922 for construction for the relocation of the gas pipeline. Staff recommends approval.
Is that part of the bid process?
Yes, sir. We formally bid out the project. Yes, sir. We received.
I mean, it's already included. The cost is in total project cost.
Yes, sir. It's actually below our budget, or our estimated budget that we had for this item.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually had $1 million budget for pipeline relocation, and it came in at $398,000.
They got a motion for approval.
to answer your question, Strike LLC is vetted. It is one of the approved contractors that Lone Star Pipeline will accept to work on their pipeline.
So moved by Zeke.
Motion by Zeke, could I get a second?
Second.
Second, a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Resolution of 2022-27, consideration and approval of the agreements with AEP for participation in relocating the high voltage transmission line for 365 Tollway project.
Yes, sir. Chairman, directors, again, this is another utility relocate that's 100% compensable to American Electric Power. This is for some transmission lines, high voltage transmission relocated as part of the project. And again, they're 100% compensable because these were right-of-ways and easements that were pre-existing and lines that were pre-existing before we acquired the right-of-way. They actually go back to the old CP&L days before CP&L was acquired by American Electric and Power. So this is to approve the agreement to reimburse AEP for the relocation of the transmission lines. It's in the amount of $4,421,590.57. Staff recommends approval.
Are there any questions?
The cost was budgeted, included as part of our overall project cost.
And I could entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Second by Zeke, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Chairman, directors, we have no further business for your consideration.
There are no further questions. If not, is there any other questions from any members of the board? That will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn by Zeke.
Motion for adjournment. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Alonso. All in favor say aye.
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 Same sign.